Durag Diaries. Crystal Palace are set to get kicked out of Europe. This has been some amazing news. I'm not going to lie. Back of the nest, D has been talking too much trash this season. So this is the news that I've definitely needed to hear. But Crystal Palace are set to hold showdown talks with UEFA in a bid to avoid getting kicked out of European football, most in particular, the Europa League or the Conference League. Now, to give you a bit more details as to why they're in this position currently, one of their owners, I don't know if he's a minority or majority, but he owns 43%, John Textor. He has a conflict of interest. He's a minority owner of Palace, because obviously Steve Parish is the main owner. And then he's the majority owner for Lyon. So this gives him a conflict of interest because he obviously has two clubs that are going to be competing in Europa League next season. That is against the rules that are put in place by UEFA to prevent, cheating from going on, match fixing and all these things, which makes more than sense. You can't have an owner with two clubs going into one UEFA competition, because if they come up against each other, or one team needs a result against another, we all know what's going to happen. There's going to be some backdooring, slippery hands in the pockets, all of them things going on. So it's very clear as to why this can't happen. But the biggest problem is the rule actually states that the team that finishes higher in their competition, naturally, so Premier League or their league, so Liga 1, Lyon finish 5th or /6th, correct me if I'm wrong, in the Liga 1. Because Crystal Palace finished in the bottom half in 11th/12th, they will not be qualifying for Europa as per the current rules. Now, they are going to hold a meeting with UEFA to see the actual outcome and see if they can work something out to push themselves in. But ultimately, I don't see why UEFA would bend the rules for Crystal Palace. Nobody cares about Crystal Palace in Europe. And quite frankly, it's not like they're going to have plenty of fans traveling over to Azerbaijan or traveling over to Baku or traveling over to Zagreb. They're not going to have some big away fans going to be bringing loads of money for Europe. It's only Palace, yeah? And I'm saying that with the most disrespect possible, D, onto you. But they do need to watch out, because the only other option that they was going to look at doing potentially was going into the Conference League, where they wouldn't have this issue. But then again, one of Crystal Palace's minority owners also has a share in Brøndby, which is a team that's going to be competing, I think, from Sweden into the Conference League. So Crystal Palace may have gone through all that effort to go and not play no European football. And the biggest thing for them is the impact this is not only going to have on their squad, on their players, but their manager. A lot of the players probably staying at Crystal Palace at this moment in time and maybe not be looking at moves because they've got European football, because they've got a project where they're viewing and they're like, oh, we've got a big season ahead of us. We can do something this year. With no European football in sight, you no longer have the gravity to keep these players away from all these other clubs. You can't pull them in like you did before. So when you're talking to Eze, he's not hearing, he's not going to be picking up the calls when Tottenham, Arsenal, City, whoever the bigger clubs are calling in for him. He's going to want to go. He's going to want to go. So Crystal Palace are in major worries right now. They need to be watching out, because this could be terrible, man. This could be terrible. From my non-biased point of view, and let's take off like my hat where D's not a Crystal Palace fan who's not been talking shit to me all year, talking about he's better than me and all it. Let me take away all of that. Let me strip that all the way back here. Because I'm not going to lie, a lot of my hate and my laugh at this situation is based on D, not based on my thoughts as Crystal Palace for it as a club, innit? It will be unfortunate for a club in their first year ever, when they are, qualified for it, to not be in the competition. It will be very unfortunate, you know, to find out after the season, once everything's confirmed, oh, we're not going to be able to make the competition. It'll be unfortunate, but it'll also be funny. It's also going to be funny because clearly you weren't meant to be in the competition. Clearly, someone spotted an elephant in the tree. They spotted an elephant in the tree. That branch didn't look comfy, and it's slacking right now. It's about to break. It's about to break, and Crystal Palace look all well and truly to be potentially knocked out of the Europa League. Now, if they do get kicked out of the Europa League under these terms, Brighton would find themselves in the Conference League on the account of finishing 9th in the Premier League, with Nottingham Forest being promoted to European football, Europa League football. Now, this makes it even more interesting on the content side of things, because then you get Wolfie coming on show saying, oh, I've been upgraded. I'm going into Europa League. I just turned up for my flight and they said you got business class today. Like, he didn't have to do anything. Them lot are just getting an upgrade for no reason. So, look, it could get a bit messy on that side of things. But for the time being, let's see what happens with this news. Keep an eye out, because Crystal Palace could well and truly be kicked out of this Europa League in their first attempt to get in. But enough about Crystal Palace. Make sure you are smashing the subscribe button. As you can see, we're on the road to 5K, you know. We're really on that road to 5K, so your support is needed to help me get there. So tell a friend, tell his mom, tell his cousin, tell her uncle. Subscribe to your boy Durag Diaries, and also follow on the other socials below here. If you want to become a member, become a descendant, become a delinquent, tap join next to the subscribe button. And as you can see, if you want to show some extra support, I am rather thirsty right now. You can scan here to buy me a coffee. This has been your boy and Durag Diaries, up to date with all your football news. Until next time, we're out.